Let's talk about anime.
I love anime!
And manga!
Whether you feel some kind of guilt about it or not, you probably are kind of into anime in some capacity. It's sort of hard to escape these days, right? Never in my life would I have expected anime to become this mainstream. It's beyond mainstream. It's profitable. It's a cash cow in the West. And while my 2011 self would be kind of mind-blowing seeing anime figures at Walmart, it's not that surprising in retrospect. The Japanese animated TV show industry is one of very high standards, and kind of always has been. Ever since manga was able to be adapted in a profitable way, the snowball has never stopped. It's been decently prevalent in my life basically forever, I think. But once again, we're asking the question, what's my favorite of all time? Because, yeah, I'm probably a weeb. While I don't consume as much as some, anime has been a big part of my passion and being for quite some time, but I'll get into that. Like last time, this will kind of be a storytime deal, so don't spoil it by skipping, even though I kind of doubt you'll even recognize my favorite, but I'm getting ahead of myself. As a young, tiny human being, me and my brother had quite an obsession with Dragon Ball Z. I was basically the pitch-perfect demographic for it. It aired on Cartoon Network during the early 2000s, and I was the ripe, sugary cereal-eating age of like 5 to 10 during that era. And man, we loved this series. Everything about it. We had figures, we had the games, and more figures. We had so many figures. We had all of our favorite characters, all of our favorite villains. I always loved Kid Buu. He was so crazy and wacky, it was really cool. And truthfully, I probably didn't even fully understand what was happening in the show. Actually, scratch that. Thinking about it now, I definitely didn't understand. I haven't fully rewatched DBZ since those early days, but I've seen the abridged series and watched the cool moments over and over again. And anime zeitgeist culture makes it kind of impossible for me not to know everything about this show. So, because of that, I know Dragon Ball is no slouch in storytelling. Its characters are charming and fun, the suspense and action is captivating. There's probably a reason I liked it beyond buff dude punching guys while flying. I'd also be lying if I told you I totally understood that it was anime, quote-unquote. I definitely knew it was Japanese, and probably heard it called an anime before, but that didn't really matter. It was a cool show with a lot of action. And I also absorbed other popular anime shows at that time, like Pokemon and Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! You know the kinds. But definitely wasn't into anime. I didn't have like an Inuyasha phase or anything. I was always more into the video game side of nerd culture. Even when I started becoming a little bit more active in online communities, anime fans were always kind of a different breed. Growing up, it was hard not to be surrounded by the anime-centric online zeitgeist at that time. But I just didn't really have an interest too much. I was always much more inspired by cartoons like SpongeBob and such. Anime just kind of wasn't my thing. But yeah, obviously that didn't last. When I was about 14, my friends recommended me a series that was airing at the time called Panty and Stocking. It was pitched as a sort of Western cartoon-style anime, which definitely got me interested. But like, Panty and Stocking? The title didn't really give me a ton of hope. But also around that time, I was really into My Little Pony, so I wasn't about to judge a book by its cover. And thank God I didn't, because I fell in love with this show. It was so fun, the action was crazy, it was genuinely funny, and yeah, it was kind of this cross between Western and Eastern cartoons. Even the opening was only 30 seconds when most other anime OPs were a minute 30. If you haven't seen Panty and Stocking, I definitely recommend it. It's definitely got a raunchy kind of stupid edgy humor, but it's a good time. It was also the first time I was keeping up with the series. I watched pretty much every episode as it aired with my friends, and we got excited every time one dropped. Also, side tangent, the ending to that show is genius and a very funny parody of stupid jump the shark cliffhangers, and the fact that it didn't have a resolution or sequel was part of the joke, and I feel like a second season is completely killing that joke. But anyway, Panty and Stocking also got me interested in other series by these animators, which led me to a big one, a very big one, a galaxy-sized, heaven-piercing big one. I'm sure anyone who knows probably has a stupid smile on their face. I got very into Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, and oh my god, what a fucking show, man. Gurren Lagann is a classic at this point, but when I first saw it, it was eye-opening. I genuinely never knew media was allowed to be this good. If you are that unfortunate to have not seen this show, it's a mecha anime about a kid who learns the beauty of mankind and life. The story is told with the most ridiculous action, over-the-top visuals, insane music, and constant adrenaline you'll ever see in an anime series. Okay, maybe not constant. The series has a lot of heart and takes its time when it needs to, but man, when it's running at full speed, oh man, it's a ride. This was one of my first instances where I felt I was experiencing theming and cohesive storytelling in a show. A story about a boy who grows up underground drilling holes, evolves to that same drill, actually literally, no hyperbole, piercing through planets and galaxies. Its themes and analogies are not subtle in the slightest, but that's the whole point. It's in your face. It preaches to you while proving itself by keeping you insanely invested through the action and animation. This series has aged like fine wine. It's still one of the best, and was not, and kinda still is not, topped in so many ways. But it's not my favorite. I have an immense amount of respect for it, though. It got me hooked. I wanted to experience all the legendary anime I missed out on for so many years. It got me to watch shows like Fullmetal Alchemist and Soul Eater and Code Geass, the list goes on. And a lot of those series are definitely up there in my favorites. Like, have you seen Code Geass? Like, that's peak media right there. So it was like summer 2012, and on a whim I decided to watch a show that was kind of out of my usual fare, a series called PaperDawN. Not really sure what exactly got me to start it. I think I had seen some GIFs being tossed around a lot as reaction images and thought it looked funny. And PaperDawN is amazing, fantastic, perfect even. It's a slice of life, good feel kind of series about girls in a music club at their school. It's slow and melancholic, even boring at times. But the characters are so charming and the writing is so fun you can't help but smile the entire way through. I love it so much. But it was undeniably very different than what was impressing me before that. This show was ridiculously dismissed by the internet when it was new. It created a subgenre people referred to as moe glob, just being cutesy nothing the show. But I couldn't stress enough to these people that's why it was so good. It doesn't have to have a hook with anything dramatic. It wants to hook you with its characters and charm. Definitely at the time, the kind of badass anime fan group had it out for the show. And honestly, it extended to my group of friends too. I could never get my friends to watch this, it was just too boring for everyone. Which is funny, because some people I know went on to have major respect and love for it. I think there's something to appreciate with something like PaperDawN, and that something is done impeccably well. PaperDawN is legendary. It has a ridiculously special place in my heart. It was my favorite anime for a very long time. It sparked my love and appreciation for slower slice-of-life series like this. After that, I watched Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, which was also very cool and very fun. I watched shows like Lucky Star, Nichijou, a series called Yuri Yuri. I just loved these kind of nothing, charming, cutesy series. But there was one during the moe high I had that surprised me, because it was more than I expected. A little series called Anohana. I'm not going to get too deep into this one, but it moved me in a way very little series usually do. It's heavy. I cried like a baby watching this show, which is not super common for me, and that emotional connection put it very high on my list. Suddenly I realized the idea of a series making me cry made me feel like it has a weirdly special connection to me. At some point I got really into older anime too, like Sailor Moon and Ramna, thus getting me into Maison Ikkoku, which I already made a whole video on, you can just watch that. And another series that creeped very, very high in the list as well is Mob Psycho 100, and I can't even pretend this isn't one of, if not the best anime adaptation I've ever seen in my life. Studio Bones is basically treating it like the biggest passion project ever, and taking this already beautiful manga and making it hit like a truck. Season 3 isn't out yet as of recording this, and while I'm about to blow up about the next series I'm going to talk about, I don't know, Season 3 might end up being so good I can't pretend it's not my favorite of all time anymore. Mob Psycho is unreal, just please watch it if you haven't. It doesn't get much better than that. But let's get to my favorite of all time, shall we? So in winter 2017, I was checking the seasonal anime to see if anything caught my eye. And not gonna lie, usually things don't, but I was in the mood to give something a chance. Pop Team Epic was getting an anime, which was very exciting, and there was a slice of life series called Eurocamp that a lot of people were hyping up. But there was another, a little series about 4 girls who go to Antarctica. It was called A Place Further Than the Universe, or its shortened Japanese title Yorimoi, which is what I'm going to be calling it because it's way easier to say. And yeah, Yorimoi changed my life. It made me a better person. The show is about 4 girls, Kimari, Shirase, Hinata, and Yuzu, who take a journey to Antarctica. Kind of an oddly grounded, but also very strange concept when you hear it. A lot of people could describe this under the same umbrella as PaperDawN, of cute girls doing cute things, but I don't know if that's accurate. Like, yeah, the girls are very cute, but they aren't just doing cute things. I mean, sometimes the things they do are cute, but overall, it's much more than that. The series begins with the character Kimari. She wants to feel as if her life has meaning, is moving forward. She tries to take that leap, but always ends up having cold feet. It's not until, through some wacky circumstances, she meets Shirase, who has this ridiculous dream of going to Antarctica. Everyone bullies her and harasses her about it, and she ends up debating with herself if it's even possible. Kimari, obviously relating to this struggle, tries to persuade Shirase to take that step. Shirase then asks, "Why don't you come with me then?" And yeah, their journey starts there. And man, what a journey this is. Over the course of this tight and easy 13-episode series, they are joined by a few other friends I mentioned, Hinata and Yuzu, who each have incredibly relatable stories and struggles. And it very much helps that these characters are all insanely charming. They bounce off of each other so well. It's just a treat to watch. Their VAs are spectacular and sell the characters almost too well. The character writing in general is just so good. God, it's so good. And I just love how every little moment in this crazy journey to Antarctica is realized. Them figuring out how to fund the trip, figuring out how to live and adapt to the climate, learning ways to help the expedition team they accompany. It's all so charming and feels like a real adventure. And of course, it makes them getting to Antarctica itself so much more exciting. It also helps that it's also very funny and just oozing with charm. You'll be smiling every step of their journey to the penguin-filled wasteland. And yeah, they get to Antarctica. I'd say spoiler warning, but it's really not. It's what the entire show is leading up to. The dang opening shows you clear as day that they'll be there at some point. But as cheesy as it sounds, that journey that leads them to Antarctica is just as important, if not more. But let's talk about that place, Antarctica. So Antarctica is not the one with Santa, that's the other pole. The South Pole is a wasteland in a lot of ways, a place bigger than life itself, but just as empty. Plenty of penguins and snow though. And somehow this show makes this place the most beautiful and desirable location on this dumb Earth. I genuinely believe it's because Antarctica becomes more than just a location. It represents so much for these four girls, all of their struggles and personal journeys all wrapped tightly around this narrative of them doing something spectacular. Despite being the biggest country on this dumb Earth, the show makes it even bigger than that. This show is beautiful, not just because of its drop-dead gorgeous art or its stunning music, but its philosophies on life and experiences is just so inspiring. I'm being decently vague with the story beats because I'd rather not spoil anything, but almost every episode had me going, holy moly, I've never seen media tackle this kind of emotional issue. Characters grow so amazingly in this show and have some damn powerful moments. And yeah, fair warning, this show is heavy and will definitely make you cry. Even me, the stone-cold icy demon, had to literally pause the final episode because I broke down bawling my eyes out. Sometimes I well up even listening to the OST, and I don't think that's just, it's that good kind of thing. It just really hit home with me personally. So I watched this show from episode 1 as each came out. I had never, and probably will never, be that excited to see episodes pop up on Crunchyroll. The show felt as if it was healing me. From episode 1, I wanted to see these girls go on this journey. I wanted to see them defy all the odds. I wanted to do that too. I watched this series shortly after I graduated college. I went to college for art, but they neglect to tell you once college is over and you get this fancy piece of paper, nothing. Now what? I was still working my shitty retail job, but I felt as if it was sucking my life force dry. I wanted to take that step, do something spectacular, make memories, be who I want to be. And while the journey for me was much longer than 13 episodes, I have in a lot of ways done that. Sure, life is still relentless, especially in this dumb country, but I have taken some of those ambitious steps. I felt myself growing as a person with these girls as I watched. It felt, for a lack of better terms, healthy, which is probably why the final episode, when they're recounting how far they've come, I broke down like a child getting kicked in the stomach. Shortly after this series ended, I quit my job. About a year later, I moved a few states away. I busted my ass so I could do art full-time, and that's what I'm doing now. I've been creating my own comic, elevating my art, and just being creative. Even making these videos. I've wanted to make videos like this for upwards of 10 years now, and I've tried, but I always get cold feet. I know I have a tendency to be a little dramatic with this stuff, but I just can't begin to explain how much this show did for me, how much it helped me. It gave me context to see myself in these girls, and see how even a bunch of cute girls doing cute things can travel beyond the universe of not only this Earth, but themselves. So yeah, Yorimoi is my favorite anime of all time, and part of me thinks it kind of always will be. It was the main catalyst to my life going in a direction that I can finally feel happy about. I won't pretend this show did all the work in that regard, but you know, if I could say thank you to director Atsuko Ishizuka over and over and over for a week straight, I probably would. I am going to see her new movie she directed literally tomorrow as of writing this, so hopefully that makes up for it. Also, oh my god, this show is so underappreciated. It was crazy overshadowed by other series coming out at the time and was kinda weirdly judged. I heard many people say, well, my cute girl's doing cute things choices Eurocamp this season, but like, god, Yorimoy is so much more than that. I'm just petty, because due to the lack of popularity, only 2 of the 4 main girls got Nendroids. Like, how can you do that to me? I feel this is one of those animes that's on everyone's list. You know, like when you see a cute anime on Twitter, so you add it to your quote-unquote list, implying you are actually keeping track of them. Well, hopefully I could persuade you to put it a little higher on that theoretical list, or like at the top. Like, please, do it for the Nendroids. And you'll never guess what I'm about to ask. What's your favorite anime, and why did it connect with you in a way that makes it your favorite? Anime has really connected with so many people nowadays when you think about it. Stories being told by people sometimes on the opposite side of the world can be so important and ring so true in our lives. It's kind of amazing in a way. So don't be ashamed and call anime a guilty pleasure. Some people can be so pretentious about it, rolling their eyes at anything that isn't Studio Trigger or Guilty Gear or something. But there's a lot of beauty in so many of these series, way more than might meet the eye. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Do great things and be the best version of yourself, and I'll meet you there, in a place further than the universe.